Hi, I'm Gavin,
I'm Oscar.
and welcome back to the Sound Project. Okay, so this episode today is there's only going to be one like it because this month is our 15-year anniversary as a company.
Crazy.
Is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to think. I started the business back in August of 2009, and while it's been 15 years, it feels like about 7 or 8, which is right around the amount of time you've been here.
Yeah.
But yeah, time is just flying by, and I thought it'd be cool to talk about starting the business, how it's gotten to where it is today, and it's to me, honestly, I've said this a few times on the podcast. I always was a little naive. I think when I started the business, I thought it was just going to be me for my whole career, and then I would retire, and then Haverstick Designs wouldn't be anything anymore. And that was short-sighted, and obviously not how it turned out, which I'm glad, because we're just so much better now than it would have been if it was just me the whole time, which is really cool. Recently, we had our first ever win lunch, which is an idea that George had we're always bad at celebrating things. Like, not that we don't celebrate things, but we don't take the time to celebrate it.
Yeah, like we're in such a rush to get all our work done.
Yeah.
Just busy working on projects. It's hard to like kind of pause and take a look back.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool thing we did this
week. It
week.
was, yeah, and we're going to do it every month, and we're just going to have a company lunch and we're just going to celebrate all the things that happened over the course of the month, because it's kind of wild how many things happen in a single month, so what we did is throughout the month we submitted wins that we've gotten over the month to Paige, and Paige collected them. One thing that she did, which I love, is she created a poster board. So if you saw Paige's podcast, the interview, she said at one point she wanted to be a school teacher. So this was awesome. She got to flex those muscles of doing this poster board. So we got all of our wins listed there. And the thing that was a surprise to me, also there's this amazing picture of myself with a party hat on. I think Ava from More Than Media put that together. But we had this just nice lunch, and I thought it was just going to be the win lunch that we had scheduled. And then you guys had a huge surprise for me.
Yeah, well, we figured with the 15-year anniversary coming up and, doing the win lunch needs to cover all of the wins that we missed.
Right.
So we decided we have to do wins from the last 15 years. But we weren't all around from the last 15 years. So we decided to gather as many of our past clients, partners, people who have been around the business as possible, reach out to them over the last couple months, and we had them all send in a short little clip congratulating you and the rest of the team, but mainly the boss, on an amazing last 15 years. And so it was so funny when we made the list. It was a pretty long list. I didn't really think of how long each person would talk, but it was just so incredible hearing dozens and dozens of people talking about, for 30 minutes just about all of the past 15 years and just like their experiences working with you. And it was so much fun seeing the diverse amount of the amount of people we've worked with, artists, architects, designers. Yeah. So it was such a neat experience.
It was really cool. It was a little overwhelming, honestly. It was obviously very nice to hear all of that. And I remember watching it just every single person that popped up, I was like, oh, no way, he sent in a video or she sent in a video. And I think I made a list of everyone because I wanted to send a thank you to everybody for doing that. And it was, 40 to 50 people. And the video was like 37 minutes long, which is, at the end, I know that, More Than Media put a list of all of our projects that we've done since 2009, and that credit sequence lasted forever. So it's just neat to reflect on that, because again, when you're living in the moment all the time, and you're just trying to move on to the next thing, it's tough to reflect back. But man, it was something else. I mean, all of you guys, like all the staff, submitted videos as well, and it's just something that I'll cherish forever. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it was so cool, from not owning the business for the rest of us, just seeing kind of what had come before, and it's easy to forget how much there's been before, or outside of the work just that you're doing that month or that week or that's in front of you right now. And so it was so cool for me just getting, during that end credit scene, seeing when, oh, that was my first project, that was my first site visit.
Yeah.
And it was, there was a lot of projects after that and a lot of projects before.
Sure.
And so it was really cool seeing, just a reminder of the context of where we are, of, just the amazing things we've gotten to do at Haverstick Designs.
Yeah, because it was just me for about 8 years or so before I hired Emily first, and then you came on as an intern that summer as well. So you've been here for almost half of it, it's my capabilities as one person. You can only do so much, and now that we have 8 people, we can do larger things, better things. Like I always hire people that are better than me at things, I think it shows in our work. Like I look back at some of our old reports and honestly get a little embarrassed by it because of my CAD skills maybe not being as good as everybody's today. But man, it was really fun to see. And some of those first projects that I got as soon as I had started off on my own, it was. You never know how it's going to go starting a new business. Also, starting a new business in 2009, where it was in the middle of a recession, and so maybe it wasn't the best timing, but it worked out.
Yeah. What kind of led you to want to start the firm, and then I guess what were those beginning days like? Like, was it intimidating, or did you have kind of clients that you were thinking in mind, or were you kind of just ringing up the phone?
Yeah, starting the business was honestly not something I wanted to do. I had a little bit of interest in it. I felt like I could probably do it. But honestly, Erica, my wife, pushed me to do it. She's like, I'm an engineer by degree, and my mindset is always I want to know all the constants. I want to know exactly how things are going to play out. I'm not a risk taker. So starting a business is foreign to me because that's a big risk. But it was something she encouraged me to do. She said, you've built relationships with a lot of people at your former job, and I think that people are going to want to work with you. So, I started the business. I used to be head of engineering at Orlex Acoustics, and I resigned from there. Strangely enough, they were my first client. I think the day after I put my 2 weeks notice in, I got a contract to handle technical things for them which I thought would last maybe 6 months or so, and it ended up lasting about 5 years. The first 5 years, I was helping them with some of the things that I was doing before. But then it was just a matter of leaning on the people that I knew in the industry. There's a lot of partners in the industry that I worked a lot with at my previous job, and they wanted to continue working with me and sending me projects. And of course, early on, it was. I don't know that first year. It started in August, so there wasn't a full year there, but I maybe did 10 to 12 projects that year. Now we're doing 70 to 80 a year, and it's obviously grown, and we have more bandwidth. But it's kind of strange how I think I got my first project the first week in the office, and it wasn't even something I had to work for a lot. I think I was just reaching out and letting people know I had started my business, and opportunities started rolling in.
Yeah.
So.
And do you remember what that first project was?
Yeah, it was Farmington High School in Farmington, Minnesota. It was like a performance hall at a high school. And nice. It was just awesome. I mean, it was an on-site visit, and I got to travel up there and do testing and do a full report for it. And I always remember when that one came in, I was like, man, this might work.
Yeah. And so how did the business evolve from that first year to, fast forward to 7 years later when you decide to hire, an intern, Emily?
Yeah.
How much evolution was there? Was it just kind of snowballing, work piling up?
Yeah, it just kept going on and on. I mean, I always tell people this business is all about word of mouth and referrals. And every time you complete a successful project, now you have a walking advertisement out there. People are telling other people about the work that you did and how it was to work with you. So I think over the years, the growth that we've experienced is just there's more people out there that know who we are. And so I kept doing a lot of different types of projects. Got a few larger clients that I did repeat business with, which was nice as kind of a stable base. But it was honestly, at the beginning, I think it was a little bit more focused on large rooms than it was studios like it is now. I mean, we were doing studios back then, but it was, I think, more churches and larger spaces at first. And I think that was just because of the connections that I had at the time. And then, deciding to hire someone, we were getting to a point where it was there's so many projects I couldn't handle it by myself. At that point, I had a son, Grayson, and so I wanted to be home more as well. And I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to handle this by myself. And I probably put that off maybe a couple years later than I should have. But then I ended up hiring Emily, who worked here for a while, and then you were the intern over the summer. I remember when you reached out, actually, we'd never had an intern before, and we had no internship program. We had nothing, but your cover letter was basically like reading what I would have wrote right out of college. Like, I was like, man, I talked to Emily about it. I was like, we don't have any program for this, but we should make this happen. So I'm glad that we did.
Yeah, it ended up working out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember it was so serendipitous. Kind of when we met for lunch, I think over one of my breaks, you said, just very recently I decided I needed some help, and I'm in the process of hiring somebody, and I think, and we've been talking about potentially getting an internship program, and then it was kind of as you were thinking about that I reached out, and so it all worked out. Really serendipitously, which kind of feels like it's been the case a lot, where we've just been so lucky with getting a lot of such an amazing team around us, where it's just worked out so well.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, it just seems like things fall into place, and over the years, it's just all the pieces come together naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when after my son was born, I had a home office, and the home office became something I couldn't really use all that much, and it wasn't that it was too chaotic at home. It was just that I'd take a break and I'd go and I'd want to play with Grayson for a couple hours, and so I wasn't being as productive as I'd like to be. So I actually ended up, my first office was McAllister's Deli, where I was there for probably 9 months. Almost every single day I was at McAllister's Deli. All the people there knew me. I got free teas all the time. And but it was something where I was there for a long time, but then video calls became more of a thing for us to do, and it just wasn't possible. So I remember getting my first office on Pennsylvania Avenue, not far from here, and I loved it because it was my first office, for one, but it had a full wall of windows, and had this nice view of this little garden area. And then probably 3 months after I was there, they slipped a note under the door. It said, "We just sold the building and you have to find another place."
Oh, of course.
So I remember scrambling because everyone in that building had to find another place as well. And Carmel's doesn't have a ton of those types of small office spaces. So I ended up finding the one that you interned in, which had no windows and was just this small, I would guess that it was like 13 by 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't very big. For 3 of us in there, it was a little cramped.
Yeah.
So.
Which is funny. I had never worked in an office or anything before, so I thought it was awesome. It was full of records. We listened to vinyl all day. I got to be right by the boss all day, and so I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, it was good. And the only downside is, I remember times just leaving that place and not knowing that it was raining, or not knowing that it was dark,
It always felt a bit like leaving a movie theater, when you're just, the sun's all bright. Yeah.
But and then we ended up moving to another office, and then another office, and now we're here, which is just a huge step up for where we started.
It's pretty incredible, especially with lights and cameras and things on a podcast day, where it's it feels like we've come a far way since that one room office.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, is that like I said, it's just word of mouth referrals and all of that thing. It has grown the business, but then this is a big part of it. Honestly, is the podcast and the videos that More Than Media produces for us. It allows people to hear about us and what we do, but then also see our projects, and that's just been a huge part of the recent success too.
Yeah, it's so cool. Something I've been wanting to ask on this, it's a bit of a change of topic. Do you remember the first Mix magazine, class of whatever year that you got? Because that's always an exciting time in the spring, when we're thinking about what are we gonna submit? Will we get accepted again this year? It's always I always kind of look at it from a fan. It's like award show season, where I'm like, is it gonna win? Is this one gonna get accepted?
Yeah. I do remember the first one because I did not submit it. The client submitted it, and that was the first time I'd ever. I knew that the Class of magazine from Mix Magazine came out every year, but I just didn't ever think to submit anything.
Yeah.
And it was 77 recording in Evansville, Indiana.
Nice.
And so Brett Mulzer had submitted it, and it got accepted. And then that was the start of all the ones that you see probably on the back wall there. We've been in every year since then, since 2013.
So cool. So it was just the one studio the first year?
Yep.
And then the next year, did you submit?
Yeah, I started submitting after that because I think then we were on Mix Magazine's radar, and so I would get an email every year of saying to submit candidates for it.
Nice.
So, yeah, but it's wild because it started. I think the first maybe 5 or 6 years it was just one, and then it started to be two, and one year we got three in there. So
Nice.
It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's always fun. That's always kind of like the equivalent almost of like a win lunch, where we look back over the studios that have gotten done that year of like,
Yeah.
which ones are we going to submit, which ones,
Yeah.
or
And we actually did a
photos?
full podcast episode of all of the ones, so we'll link that in the description below.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I mean, incredible 15 years so far. What do you think we've gotten the next 15 years?
man, I've been thinking about that a lot recently. Is that one thing that I know, I said this yesterday in a meeting, is that one thing that I know is that whatever I predict is going to happen is going to be far off. Because I thought, again, that it was just going to be me my whole entire career. And then once I got around like 4 people, I was like, all right, well, we're good for the next 5 or 6 years. And now we're up to 8, and honestly, like we probably need to look at hiring again. And
Yeah.
so it's pretty amazing. I've just kind of done predicting what's going to happen. It does seem to be happening these days is the level of projects that we're working on. I mean, we love all projects, but there's also some really large projects we're working on right now, and that trend seems to be continuing, where those opportunities are becoming more frequent, which we enjoy. But honestly, any type of project where we can make a difference, and one common theme in that video that my mom actually pointed out to me because she watched the video as well, but that 15-year video where all these past customers are saying all these nice things about us, most of them didn't speak about our work all that much. I mean, they did say like, oh, I love my room or whatever, but the majority of the sentiment was that I think it was Ryan Monette who said that it's not that we're just improving spaces, we're improving people's lives, which is awesome. I mean, and we like to, oftentimes our clients, we become friends with them and we have a long relationship with them after the job is complete. And honestly, that's my favorite thing about what we've done. So
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned or that I value from being at Haverstick Designs is, the mission of what we do matters, of building these rooms that amazing things happen in them once the project's done, but that the way that you do work matters a lot. The how matters a lot more than just the what.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was really, a through line in a lot of it, that the way that we comport ourselves, that you've comported yourselves with these clients or with the people we work with, is kind of like what defines Haverstick Designs, of like, that being kind, doing what you say you'll do, of kind of like that trust that clients have with us, or that just people that interact with us in general have. And that's been really, I think that will always be a part of us, no matter as we're getting in these bigger projects and everything, but we want to kind of have that through line of being good people and doing things as ethically as we can.
Yeah, it's really the thing that I care about the most, because that actually is something I've been thinking about as we grow. That's the one thing I don't want to lose. I obviously don't want to lose quality and the level of jobs that we do, but I don't want to miss that personal connection that we have with all of our clients, where I don't want to get to a point where we're so busy that we don't feel like we can have time just to call a client and catch up with them and see how they're doing, And so that we'll be working really hard to make sure that stays, and that's not just like having the bandwidth to do that, but it's also hiring the right people in, because everybody that works here is this is called the S.O.U.N.D project. It's about our core values, and it's important that we hire people. I always say all the time that I don't care how talented you are, if you're not kind or you're not responsible and things like that, you just can't work here, So it'll be fun to see what happens. I mean, in the next 15 years, man, I'll be 60 in 15 years, and
You'll probably only have 20 years left in your career at that point.
Man, I hope not. I hope I'm not work until I'm 80, but we'll see. But yeah, it's been an awesome ride. Obviously, you've been such a big part of it, and everyone here as well. I couldn't do it without you guys, and we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
So that's been another episode of the S.O.U.N.D Project. Thanks for being a part of it. What are your goals for the next 15 years? Please comment that below, and we'll see you next week.